Good afternoon everyone, thank you for joining me today. I'm here to share with you my March tags for the 52 Tags Handmade Challenge. I think most of you will know about the challenge by now, but it will be linked in the description box anyway. So last month I did show you this one. This was the last one of February. But I went back to it again, as I tend to do, and added an extra little piece. I just felt that that little piece there was perfect to be added to it, just to give it that extra little something. That one was bits and pieces in a gift, and that was a gift from Michelle. So yes, I just added that. Now, March. This was my first tag for March, and Anne's prompts for this one were Suffolk puffs, which I hadn't made before. So I just wrote I'd never made these before, so another first. Had several attempts to try and get the right size. They were fiddly, but not really difficult. So that was my Suffolk puffs. I did some little French knots along here, and French knots actually in the centres of those Suffolk puffs, or yo-yos as they are sometimes called. Next week in March was rings and blanket stitch. So I found some old brass curtain rings that I had forever and a day, so they were very useful. I used those for my doing my blanket stitch around, and I've just put buttons in the centres, done a little bit of cross stitch here, stitched around here, put some French knots here, and some cross stitches on that piece of doily on the corner, and just tied some pretty ribbon. So I wrote on that one, not really feeling this one too much, but I am pleased to have found a use for some old brass curtain rings I have had forever. So second week in March. This one was blanket stitch. Was it just blanket stitch? So I've done my blanket stitch around a woolen heart, and then I've blanket stitched another little felt heart on, and I've done some rows of running stitch here and at the top. I like the way that one came out. I used a wool heart that I blanket stitched around, and an embellished felt heart blanket stitched on top of it. Added some pretty broderie anglaise lace trim. Reminds me of a little girl's pretty dress. In the last week in March, this one I've just finished. Anne's prompt for this one was, what was it? Layers and a touch of gold. So here in the southern hemisphere we're in autumn, so I've used autumn colours for my golds, and I've got different layers of fabric here, and some lace. That one that was a little check fabric, and don't know if you can see that, I've done little cross stitches on that. More of this running stitch I know that has a name because I've heard Rachel mention it, but I don't think she calls it running stitch. She calls it something else, and I can't remember what that is. So if anyone knows, could you let me know? I've just put a little bit of textural fabric up here in the corner, and I've left the selvage on that one because I liked that it had the word textiles on it, and just coloured some what do you call that, cheesecloth under there. So on that one I wrote, we are in autumn here in the southern hemisphere, so I wanted to use the beautiful autumn shades of gold on this tag. I really enjoyed stitching this and was happy with the end result. I did quite a bit of embroidery on this one. I've embroidered around the leaves, or well, I should say I've stitched, you know, just embellished the leaves a little bit, and also the centers of the pansies I've stitched as well. So that's up to date now from my, it's getting nice and thick now. And I'll come back again in April and show you what I've done for April. Thanks very much for joining me. Bye now.